Welcome to yet another episode of Theological Talks You Like or Not, Season 2, baby. I am your host, DaSaint, and I am sitting with Whitney Bond, yo. Unbothered, yo. If y'all have not followed her or if you've never heard of her, go ahead and check all of her social media handles, because she is a force to be reckoned with, okay? So here we go, yet another episode of TTYL or Not. Welcome to Theology Talk You Like or Not. I am your creator, curator, investigator, sometime instigator, but definitely a liberator, DaSaint. And for a few moments of your sacred time in this sacred space, I invite you to tune in as we talk good, talk back, talk loud, talk smack, talk life and love, talk true, talk music, talk art, talk faith, hope, peace, joy, talk justice, talk God. Let's talk. Whitney, how are you today?
Today has been a day. In the words of the church mothers, I thank God for being here.
Yes.
That I can be seen and not viewed. Amen, somebody.
Hello. I'm so excited to be sitting with you. This is our first time having a conversation together. And so this is like raw. We've been social media friends for quite some time now. I love what you put out in the world. I think you are just a fresh voice, a fresh face for the new era of young Christian spiritual people who are coming into this work of faith in ministry. Please share with the people your journey and how it got you to this point that you're in now, going to Chicago Seminary, getting your doctorate degree.
I'll try to do a very concise version. So I'm originally from East St. Louis, Illinois, right out the other side of the Mississippi River. St. Louis is about a 5-minute drive from East St. Louis. But I always knew that home was just too small. So when I left to come to Atlanta to attend Spelman College for undergrad, I just didn't look back. And while I was at Spelman, I was involved in Sisters Chapel, various ministries. I started the Mind Ministry at Spelman, which is still around today under a new name, Anointed Vessels. But I was involved in Sisters Chapel, so I was learning from Reverend Dr. Lisa Diane Rose and Reverend Dr. Melva Sampson since 18. And so to situate the type of women that came into my life theologically as I'm entering college, just to set that up. Prior to that, my Christian journey involved my maternal side of the family. My mom is the youngest of 8, which 7 of them are girls. And it was my granny, my pawpaw, my 6 aunties, my uncle, all missionary Baptists and American Baptists. And then my biological father's side of the family is Church of God in Christ, Holiness, Pentecostal. Then I went to Catholic school for 8 years, and then I went to a Presbyterian high school for 4 years. So I tell people all the time that whatever you own, I can match that. So if we running, I'm running. If we doing tongues, I'm doing tongues. If we sitting still, I'm sitting still. It doesn't make me any difference. And then as I was getting ready to graduate from Spelman, I started attending First African Presbyterian Church, which is not your traditional Presbyterian situation. So if we need to start,
correct?
Listen, right. So if we need to start calling in the ancestors and beating this djembe to shake some stuff, I'm there with you as well. So it doesn't matter. Whatever you own, that's what I'm on. And then after I graduated from Spelman, I thought I was going to LA. I'm about to be famous. I got my degree in drama with a concentration in dance. So I'm about to be in front of the camera. Hello. I'm here.
And always that's not what for the camera.
And that's not what happened. I had a short stint in the entertainment industry, a lot of behind the camera work that I enjoyed doing. And so I went to DC for a hot second, experienced the heights of my depression, moved back home. And I was like, okay, so yeah, I cannot stay here. I cannot stay here. And I was planning to move to LA to work for a very well-known movie producer as an assistant, and everything just fell apart, fell flat. And I'd already quit my job back home, and I was just like, okay, so what is next? And I had a dream on August 6th of 2013 where I was preaching the closing of my family reunion, and my auntie Nisi and my cousin Nisi asked me in my dream, so what are you doing these days? And in the dream I said, oh, I'm getting my Master of Divinity from Campbell School of Theology at Emory University. Woke up from the dream and I was just like, that didn't happen. That, no. God knows that, like, I love God. Jesus is cool. With me going to seminary, that was not on the bingo card at all. Got to seminary, and I applied the week of orientation, and I don't know what it was, but they admitted me. Got to seminary, and I was just like, oh, this is not Bible study. This is not Sunday school. I don't know what these white people are talking about, because the homoousian, the homoousian, like all of these terms that I just had never heard of before. And so thank God for the great ancestor, Reverend Dr. Katie Geneva Cannon, who came and taught. She came and taught a J-term course my first year. And I was, it changed everything. It literally changed everything. She would spend, and this was an intensive, so we were in class from like 8 or 9 in the morning to about 3 or 4 for like 7 days straight, no stop. And so she wouldn't even take a lunch break. She would just sit and talk with students, like helping us discern what our next most faithful steps were. And so she was like, Sister Whitney, what is it that your heart longs for? And I was like, well, I don't want to be in seminary, but I feel like God is not letting me go. So I don't know what else you want me to tell you. She was like, no, what brings you joy? And I was like, I love food. At the time I had a food blog that, was taking off. I was like, I love food. I love talking about embodiment and sexuality. She was like, so that's why you're in seminary. And I was like, wait, sex, sexuality, embodiment, seminary. I've never heard these words together outside of Kelly Brown Douglas's work, sexuality in the Black church. Like that was the extent of what I heard. And so she was like, so this is why you're here. Like you're supposed to be writing about this. And almost every paper that I could turned into something about Blackness, Black queerness, the experiences of Black queer people. I'm going back now and looking at old papers and I'm like, girl, you've been writing about this like for a minute. Like, I don't know why you're trying to move away from it. This is your lane. So that's the roundabout way of how I got to doing this work.
First of all, what a beautiful foundation that your ministry is built on. These womenists who have cultivated your being and you walking into it. How has your family received? I'm so excited. I love when I talk to seminarians, especially when we're in the cups of it, right? But how has your family received you? Given that, number one, listen, you are church, okay? Your foundation is church. And going into seminary, getting all deconstructed, reconstructed, messed up. And I know you're bringing some of this back home. How are they receiving you during this era, this transformation moment?
So because it happened so quickly, like when I tell you nobody even knew that I had applied, because it was during orientation week. So I didn't even think that they were going to accept me. So I thought I had a whole year to like, let me prime and prep them, get them ready. And it was like, yeah. So remember when I was in Atlanta last week with Auntie Phyllis? So yeah, I went down to the schoolhouse, child, and they admitted me. So I'm actually moving like tomorrow. And my granny and papa were just like, now wait, what? And my mama, we had to, come back together because she thought that I was like keeping this from her. And I was like, girl, no, literally it happened overnight. And so part of them were, great, because it's Jesus. So you want to get all the learning about Jesus. That's all they heard. And then the rest of them were like, oh, okay. We already know where this is about to go. So we just going to get back and way back and see. Now, the funny part is that my biological father and I, we do not have a relationship. And he called me when he learned that I was in seminary, and he said, just don't let them take your Jesus away. I was like, first of all, I ain't talked to you in I don't know how long. And this is what you calling to tell me?
Did he go to seminary? Did he go?
Now, this is the funny part, not to put all my family business out there, but he is in ministry and not in relationship with any of his children. So I found it very ironic that he called to tell me, somebody who is in a formal theological setting, not to lose my Jesus, but you're not in relationship. Like your home life, not necessarily like your house, but family should be your first ministry. But yeah, so that's how I entered the game. And I was already quite progressive and liberal. So the other side of my family that was like, oh yeah, this is about to pop off. I was like, well, we'll see. And then when I started coming home, it was like, so let me tell y'all what I learned in Old Testament. Did y'all know it's 2 creation stories? And I had one cousin on the holiness side who swore that my New Revised Standard Version Bible was like almost demonic.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I've never heard that. I've never heard that before. Where's this? And I was like, they're both in Genesis and like not too far away from each other.
Right.
They're like right there. So it encouraged them to actually start reading the Bible for themselves.
Yes.
Because I didn't realize how many Black people in particular go based off of what they've heard their preacher say. And they haven't wrestled with the text like those of us who have gone to seminary have had to do.
Listen. Listen.
Because when they want to get to going with me about Sodom and Gomorrah, I'm always like, oh, that's the conversation we're about to have? Okay. So first of all, can you tell me where it is? Can you tell me where it is? I think it's like in Leviticus or Deuteronomy. Ooh, is it? Okay.
Is it though?
Is it? Oh, so yeah, that's one thing I can say. I've encouraged them to start reading the Bible for themselves and reading more deeply, not just reading for the surface, like, oh, it makes me feel good. No, what is this text actually saying?
Yeah. I just posted something. I think I got it from Unfit Christian post saying how people don't know God, they just know church.
They know church.
And we've just been like in the routine of it. I was going for my doctoral at Union, but I stopped because God said, you've done this work. Like now, God, live into the thing that you are called to do, which has built TTYL or not. And Katie Cannon is actually the foundation of which this platform is built, because doing the work that my soul must have. Hello. And so I'm wondering as you are, going back and forth, your journey and your learning, and you share something about your father, and not to put your business out there, but I'm wondering, what was the thing for you that was like the greatest gift that broke you open while in seminary? And did you being in seminary draw the relationship of you of your father closer?
So to answer the last question, no. What it did do though, I started praying about having relationships with my other siblings. Now that part has always been super important to me because my mom has another child, and everybody knows about my brother Royce. Like, some people think that's literally my child because of how I talk to him and talk about him. But I have 2 other siblings and a stepsister, but I don't even call her my stepsister. Like, at any rate, Black families, we be doing a lot.
Yeah.
But I have 2 biological half siblings, and I've always just been like, dang, I want to have, a relationship with them the same way that I have one with Royce. Like, they know that they can rely on me, they can call on me or whatever. And about 2 years ago, my other brother got my number from our aunt and called me out of the blue. You talking about the ugliest kind of crying, like, because seminary taught me that home life, that has to be together before you're out here preaching and praying for other people. What is this? What is this doing? And I knew, for me, I couldn't be out here on all these platforms talking about how important community is and that you need to be in right relationships with people. And I hadn't reached out to my other brother and my other sister, regardless of the lack of presence of our father, which brought us together. That had nothing to do with it. Whitney, what are you going to do? And, we ended up losing touch because he's young, and so I'm yet always praying for him that he just finds himself and gets settled. But when you have parents that aren't like my mama, regardless of what my biological father did, Rochelle, this was going to be solid.
Yeah.
So I always knew I had somewhere to bounce back from. I could run home. If something happened today, and God forbid, I lost my job, my partner lost her job, and I was like, I don't know what I'm about to do. What my mom was going to say, well, you can move back home. Like, she's never been one of those parents, like, you got to get out. And so I've always just had like a very secure foundation. And so with my sister, I just kind of, slowly started reaching out like, hey, because she also has 2 other sisters with her mom, which, when you have these family dynamics, you're usually closest to the siblings that you share with your mother. That's just how it goes. And so I was like, I'm not trying to replace your relationships with either of them. I just want you to know that you have, you have another sister. And so our relationship is just blossoming into like the most beautiful thing.
Oh,
And so that is definitely one thing that came out of me being in seminary, was that family life. And because family is so important to me, it I need to do everything in my power to make sure that I'm in right relationship with the people that mean the most to
yes.
me. Yeah, so I entered seminary um functioning and depressed.
Mm. Woo, break that
Um
down. Ooh, break that down.
like nobody knew. I didn't even really know because I was going. Like I moved from home, moved to Atlanta, starting seminary, and I was just like in go mode. And then at the end of that semester, I looked at my transcript and I had about a 1.7. And Emory said, sis, if you would like to stay here, these grades, like, I don't know, we don't know what's going on, but I was like, dang, how I get a 1.7? Like, I was going to class, I was doing my work, like, how I get a 1.7? Because I was depressed as
Mm.
all get out. So nothing was retaining because I was trying to survive.
My God.
And Emory, great educational system, but that is not a place that emphasizes compassion. Um, I learned how to perform and function under distress, being tired at Emory. Um, Again, love the education that I got from it, but it was all like there were low key battles with people being like, well, I was in the library until 4 a.m. Well, I was there until 6 a.m. and I just went straight to class. Like the more tired you were, people felt like that equated to you doing the work.
Mm.
That's crazy, right? But that's the environment that we were functioning in. And so fast forward to spring semester, and after I took that class with Dr. Cannon, things just kind of started being revealed. And I was going to student health services almost weekly, trying to figure out what was going on with my body. And after about my sixth or seventh appointment, the nurse practitioner was just like, Whitney, we have drawn blood from every possible vein. You have done every urine sample. We've done every swab. We can't find anything wrong with you. I hope you hear this. And I just would hope that you would try counseling. And I was like, I've gone to therapy before, so that's not a big deal. And she was like, no, I think whatever is happening is like impacting your physical body. And I
Mm.
was like, I started going in January. This was April by that point. And I just kept going back. So this now just popped up. What does this mean? And went to counseling services and found out that I was actually in like crisis mode. At the time, they allowed like 8 sessions per calendar year to be covered with your insurance. And she was like, so I'm going to go ahead and refer you out because you're going to need more than 8 sessions. And I was like, is it that bad? Like, and when I tell you, I didn't even know, I'm living it and had no idea. And so I started seeing the same therapist that I see now, the longest relationship I've had in my life.
Mm.
And when I started seeing her, I was going at least once a week and then sometimes twice a week. And again, I had no idea that I was falling apart. And so therapy is what broke me open.
Yes. Ooh, man. Ooh, Whitney, you are, man, you're like, you're in every time I sit with someone, I'm like, God, I know what you're doing. You're setting it up for me to get it. You in my stuff right now. Because therapy has definitely helped me tremendously, especially in this stage of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but isn't it like Black women, like, because we're so used and accustomed to being the all for everyone,
Everything. Mm-hmm.
and the way we function, we normalize it. Like, and when I heard you say, I'm that bad, is it that
Wait, is it that bad? She
right?
was like, so let me just show you some of the things that I've noted and checked off. And I was like, what's the therapist's name?
You right.
I was like, oh, that does look real bad.
Go ahead and refer me
Go
out.
ahead and refer me out. And we haven't looked back since. Like,
Was this your first experience in therapy ever?
oh, no. I went to therapy in undergrad, just to talk about, life stuff. And then when I was living in DC, I resumed because while I was there, one of my best friends was killed
Mm.
in LA on the 4th of July by a stray bullet. And that rocked me to my core. I was living in a city where I didn't really know anyone, moved to follow a relationship that whatever. So I wasn't in a good place, and I was like, I don't know, and I'm just existing. So that was summer, fall, winter of 12, and then in 2013 is when I moved back home, realized that I didn't want to be at home, and then I went straight into seminary. So I never really fully processed anything because I was literally on the go and on the move. And I thought at the time that seminary was going to like make it all better just by showing up, but I had to do the work that my soul must have. So
Yes, yes. And we're
yeah.
so glad that you're doing that work. What are some of the things that grounds you? What are the things that give you life? What are your ritual practice of caring for Whitney B?
Um, I have a few things. To my left, I have my ancestral altar, and I have a bigger altar that's more for like overarching spiritual work. Being in a pandemic has shown me how much I relied on other people to like guide me, which is something I never thought about because I was like, well, I'm choosing to go to this particular church because it aligns with what I do. But when I wasn't able to go physically, I looked up June, and I was like, when was the last time you like really intentionally talked to God?
Oh my God.
Like for real, not on someone, oh yeah, so this is coming up. Can you like work that thing out? But like straight up talking to God. And that's when I started doing my altar work. And it has just been so transformative because the person who I was talking to just get some tips, like how do you do this? And she was like, just follow your intuition. What is your intention, and follow your intuition. I was like, but I'm used to somebody like doing it for me, then I just show up. And she was like, no, this is your spirit work. So that has, particularly in this pandemic, that has been, and I keep looking at it because it's just been that, like, my ancestral altar got my auntie on it, got Dr. Cannon on it, Shirley Chisholm. I have to add another one who just transitioned over the weekend. But they're all Black women. Again, like, yeah, like the Black women that I've been sitting there and being like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but whew, y'all are up there, so y'all can see what's coming. Guide me. So that's been one thing. I'm working on a piece around water. I'm somebody, I believe in showering and bathing daily, but in this pandemic, it's become different. Like, yes, I'm in the shower to get my body clean, but I'm not necessarily dirty because I'm not doing anything. But I have to get in the shower daily. Like, it's something about the water just coming over my body, and like it's almost like a daily baptism, a renewing of the mind that takes place in the shower, and the laying on of hands, like laying on hands on myself and not waiting to get back to church so somebody else can pray for me. No, girl.
Listen.
Amen. Like it has become straight up spiritual time, and sitting in intentional baths. Whew. Yeah, so those two things. A ritual is sleep. Making sure I get enough sleep, so my Fitbit will be like, girl, it's past your bedtime. Get in the bed. So I have a nighttime ritual, cleansing my face. Everybody's been like, girl, your skin is like popping these days. And I'm like, yeah, because I know I'm not going anywhere, but I'm sticking to my routine. Like, yeah. What else have I been doing? Outside reading that's not related to my doctoral work. And I'm sure you understand that when you're in school, you have to do so much reading for class, for a paper. Just reading things that I like. So my friend and I, we're doing a book club, a winter book read on Zane's Addicted. I haven't read Addicted since I was probably 22, 23, but I've been reading Zane since I was in middle school. And it was not because it was like, oh my gosh, like they're talking about sex. It was more so, okay, well, why the church make sex seem like it's so boring? Like that is a chore. And so reading her work, like, opened my mind up to the enjoyment of sex, the enjoyment of what it looks like when you have consent involved, and therapy, because Zoe started going to therapy. Like, there's so many things that now my 34, almost 35-year-old mind is like, this is why you're doing the work that you're doing, because you've literally been since you didn't know what it was, you've been doing it.
Yes, yes. And you can make the connection and bring it to the people in a real way,
Hmm.
where they don't have to demonize themselves for having pleasure,
Exactly.
enjoying themselves. I mean, we all doing it. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. That's good work, and that's much necessary, needed work. What is your hopes? What is your hopes as you complete this doctoral work? Where do you see yourself moving forward in community, in ministry?
So as you also know, you can start a PhD program thinking that your one idea is very clear.
Hmm.
And then the further you go along, you realize that you have like 7 projects in your head and you only have time, space, and resources to work on one of them. So which one will it be? And the thing that keeps coming back, and why I've stuck with it now is how have Black queer millennials who are either still identifying as Christian or no longer identifying as Christian found spiritual community? We've had to create our own hush harbors, our own churches. And nobody is talking about that. Like,
Hmm.
because the majority of us are coming from our parents' generation where everything, we got to do everything by the book. You're going to work this job and stay there until you can retire. And then after you retire, you live off your Social Security. Social Security, by the time I retire, that is not going to be a thing.
It's not.
So, and jobs look at you crazy when you stay there past 10 years, even if you're climbing up the ladder, they're like, so why did you stay there? Why weren't you, exploring? So that's the side part. But yeah, so seeing how we've survived is one thing that I'm definitely, yeah, that's how Still Saved came about, because I realized there was no one space where the experiences of Black queer people was at the center.
Yes.
um we're often thought about, oh, we need to get somebody who's like part of the LGBT community to bring them in. No, we're the norm. We're going to then invite other voices to come in, but we're the norm. So that's one thing. I would love to go back to teach at Spelman once I'm done, because it was such a transformative time and place for me, particularly when I was a religious studies major for all of one semester, because I said I would never go into ministry or teach. But it was such an informational and transformative time. And so to be able to go back and shape young Black voices and Black women around faith and sexuality and spirituality, and then going into churches and training pastors and ministerial staffs on what does a healthy body sexuality theology look like,
Yeah.
because all of this, don't have sex until you're married, your body is a temple, don't let it become like, what does that mean in real time? um and the saints, some of them are ready to have that conversation, and some of them are still like, but my Bible told me X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, but do you understand who wrote it, why they wrote it, and when it was written?
Mhm.
Because that completely changes why it's there.
Yes.
um so yeah, those are just a few things that I'm
That's
looking
man,
forward to.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the people who are going to be able to be connected with you and be in community with you and be impacted by what you're already doing. I mean, I'm already impacted. Like I'm on your food gram.
Oh yeah,
I used to
forgot
be
about
on
that.
Unbothered, but I know that just recently shut down.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I've joined you in several of your happy hour talks, which have been
Listen,
lit. and
we love a good libation.
I'm so excited. Tell the people where they can follow you, what's up, like what all your handles and how they can get connected with you.
Sure. Twitter and Instagram are probably the most accessible to people. I try to keep my Facebook a little more personal, but at this day and age, people hit a share button. Next thing you know, you got 15 new friend requests. But on Twitter and Instagram, it is Miss Bond to you, MSBOND, the number 2 and the letter U. On Instagram, you can also follow Still Saved, and that's Still Saved, STILLSAVED. You can join the Facebook group Still Saved. There are 3 questions that you have to answer, just because we believe in collective community and sacred space. And we share things that, the average person wouldn't know. And then if you like cocktails and food, Whitney B Cooks on Instagram is also a good time. Um, And if you want to email me, talk allthingswhitneyb@gmail.com. And is there any, oh, if you're looking for a makeup artist, I got you on that tip too. beatbybondi.com and beatbybondi on Instagram and Facebook. Like, share, subscribe, comment. And I think that's it.
Awesome. Whitney, thank you so much for sitting with me on this episode of Theology Talks, you like or not. I do have one more question before we close out. And because I think this particular episode is going to be geared for seminarians and those who aspire to go into seminary, what one advice that you would tell someone who is looking into going into ministry and seminary in this day and age?
Particularly if it's a Black woman that's looking to go to seminary, um, look at the alums of the institution. If there's a way to visit or be in conversation with current Black women students at that school, because Black women, we always gonna know the real tea. We're going to know if it's a safe space for community, because I have some friends at some schools, they're like, yeah, I'm here, but I wouldn't advise anybody else to come. And so you need that honesty, because everybody looks good online. Like, it's all shiny and clean and oh my gosh, we're going to give you money, but are you going to be selling parts of your soul in return for that? Are you going to be out of community because you're like, so yeah, find the Black women and talk to them. Talk to them. That will be my one piece of advice, because they will ground you. And when, can I curse or do I? Okay, so when shit hits the fan, because it will in seminary, go to the Black women, and not on some savior, not for Black women to save you, but so that you know that your journey is not something that is an isolated event. Because a lot of us in seminary, we remain quiet because we thought this was an isolated event, whether it was with a professor, a colleague. It might be different people, but the situation is still the same. You get what I'm saying? And so sometimes you need somebody who's already gone down that path to say, you know what, I've been there. Let me tell you how I handle this, so that you can remain in school, because usually by that point, you can't turn around, you can't drop out, so you got to finish the degree. So how can you do this and do it whole? And do it whole.
How can you do this and do it whole? And if you do it whole. Thank you, Whitney Bond. Thank you for
having me.
Indeed. You have just watched yet another episode of Theology Talks, You Like or Not. I am your host, Rev DaSaint. We'll see you next time. Peace.
This season of TTYL or Not is being funded by Independence Public Media Foundation and supported by Good Pitch, Doc Society, and Love Now Media. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, TTYL or Not, and click on notification for updated episodes.